Has anyone ever warned you about something horrifying? My roommate Ji-Hai vanished from her bed 4 years ago. Last night she knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and my heart stopped when I saw her standing there, wearing the same gray hoodie, now hanging loose on her thin frame. She looked exactly the same as the day she disappeared during graduate school exam prep. I opened the door and she smiled at me, her voice soft, and said, "Hey Minjun, can I come in?" The shock of seeing her alive after all this time hit me so hard that everything went black. When I woke up on the kitchen floor, Ji-Hai was gone, but I could hear soft breathing coming from upstairs. I climbed the steps and found her at her old desk, arranging stacks of old exams in perfect rows. Her hands moved frantically like she was racing against time. I tried calling her family, but nobody answered my calls. Ji-Hai continued sorting papers while whispering, "Father will lock me in again if I don't finish." A loud crash from downstairs made us both freeze. I ran down and found our kitchen destroyed. Broken dishes covered the floor, and textbooks were scattered everywhere. Ji-Hai stood in the center of it all, staring at the ceiling with her mouth hanging open. Her pupils were huge, black circles that didn't respond to the light. I walked closer and said, "Ji-Hee, what happened here?" She didn't move or blink, so I reached out and touched her shoulder, which felt cold through her hoodie. I asked, "Are you okay?" She opened her mouth and started screaming. The sound tore through the room like glass breaking, so loud that I stumbled backward into the debris. Sharp pieces cut into my back as I hit the floor. She screamed about endless hours without food, about being locked in rooms until she got perfect scores, about her parents checking her pulse to make sure she wasn't sleeping. The words poured out like she'd been holding them in for years. After 15 minutes, the screaming finally stopped and she collapsed onto the floor. I sat there alone, covered in glass shards, realizing this wasn't the reunion I'd imagined. The next morning, I woke up to her shaking my shoulder gently, saying, "Minjun, I'm hungry. Want to get breakfast together?" She talked cheerfully about her graduate program like nothing had happened the night before. I told her we should get her some help, but her entire body went rigid at my suggestion. She grabbed my arm, her voice desperate, and said, "We can't go back to my parents. They'll make you write until your hands bleed like mine did." I didn't listen to her warnings and practically dragged her to my car. Once we started driving, she stopped fighting me and stared out the window in silence. We grabbed pizza from our old favorite place, and for a moment, I felt like everything might be normal again. I suggested, "Why don't you go talk to those students over there? You used to be so social." She hesitated, then walked over to a group reviewing at a nearby table. She stood too close to one girl and stared at her textbook without blinking, saying, "Hi, I'm Ji-Hai. Are your parents making you do this?" The girl looked up and froze at Ji-Hai's too wide smile. The other students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. One of them said, "We're just reviewing for finals." Ji-Hai's head snapped toward him and she said, "My parents used to beat my hands when I got questions wrong. Do yours do that too?" Her voice got louder with each word. "They made me write until my fingers bled." The students started gathering their things quickly, while a man from another table walked over, his face concerned, and said, "Miss, you need to step back." Ji-Hai turned to him and said, "I can't calm down. I haven't stopped thinking about exams for 4 years, even when I was supposed to be dead." That's when she started screaming again. The man backed away slowly while people abandoned their tables around us. I grabbed Ji-Hai's wrist and pulled her toward the door as her screams echoed through the restaurant. Once we got in the car, she turned to me, her voice eerily steady, and said, "You should quit school before my parents find you too." I asked, "What are you talking about?" She didn't answer my question, just turned away and stared out the window with that empty expression. When we reached the area near the hospital, I parked and turned around to unbuckle her seatbelt, but the seat was empty. All that remained was her gray hoodie and a journal covered in dried blood. My hands shook as I opened it and read page after page detailing the torture disguised as education. There were entries about being locked in study rooms for days, about her father hitting her hands with rulers when she got answers wrong, about her mother making her write until her fingers cracked and bled onto her homework. The final entries described her plan to escape the only way she knew how. I'd gotten my roommate back, and now I understood why some people should stay lost.